Assalamualaikum to Miss Aima. I am Hana Nabila binti Mat Nasruddin from class 6B, and these are my team members. Today, we will be presenting about the movie of The Devil Wears Prada. So without further ado, let's start. First, let's start with the synopsis. The Devil Wears Prada tells the story about Andrea, who is a journalism graduate, landed a job that a million girl would kill as an assistant to Miranda Priestley, the editor-chief of Runaway magazine. Miranda was merciless and cruel. Andrea, who at first knew nothing about fashion and its industry, started to become more trendy and fashionable to fit herself in and worked really hard to cope with Miranda's endless and unthinkable demands. Soon after, she started to realize that she was always working and had no time for her love and social life that in the end had jeopardized her relationship with her boyfriend and best friend. Andrea is losing what really matters in her life, and this story is basically how Andrea deals with the choices that come into her life.
Thank you, Hannah. Now let's move to stakeholder. There are two main stakeholder in this movie, where the first one is Emily. Emily was the senior assistant in Runway magazine, and she was interested in fashion. In this movie, her interest is want Andy to not be able to perform her job well, so that she can accompany Miranda, her boss, to Paris Fashion Week, where she has always dreamed of. The second stakeholder is Nate. Nate is the boyfriend to Andy. In this movie, when Andy has started to work as the second secretary to Miranda, she always busy and spend less time with him. So, his interest is Nate want Andy to focus on their relationship. Now, I will pass to the next presenter, Nusratina. Thank you.
Thank you, Alira, for the explanation about the stake of the stakeholder. Now, I will go through the ethical dilemma of the heroine and the villain in this movie. Before that, I will introduce who is the heroine and the villain in this movie, The Devil Wears Prada. The heroine is the head herself, is junior personal assistant to Miranda Priestley. The villain is Miranda Priestley, where she is editor-in-chief of Runaway magazine. Okay, now I will explain about the ethical dilemma of Annie, the heroine in this movie. The situation that Annie faced that caused her in ethical dilemma is when Miranda offered Annie to participate in the Paris Fashion Week after she had shown a good work throughout the period of working with Miranda. This situation is an ethical dilemma because the person that should follow Miranda to the fashion week is Emily, her co-worker. Annie had witnessed the excitement of Emily going to the Paris Fashion Week. However, if she does not accept the offer, she will lose her job. Therefore, Annie is in dilemma whether to take the privilege away from Emily or not. If Annie accepts the offer, she will not lose her job, but Emily losing out opportunity of her dream job. Meanwhile, if Annie declines the job, she will be fired. But for Emily, she can achieve her dream job to go and work during the Paris Fashion Week. Moving on to the villain ethical dilemma, which is Miranda. Situation that she faces is Miranda chose Jacqueline instead of Nigel to become James Holt partner as president of James Holt International. This situation is an ethical dilemma because Miranda is well informed that Jacqueline will replace her as editor-in-chief. At the same time, Nigel was so excited because she will be offered a job with rising fashion star James Holt as a partner of James Holt International at Miranda recommendation. Therefore, Miranda is in a dilemma whether to choose Jacqueline or Nigel in order to save her job. If Miranda chooses Nigel, her position as editor-in-chief will be replaced by Jacqueline, but Nigel will get the opportunity to become the partner with James Holt when it is first time in 18 years to get such opportunity. Meanwhile, if Miranda chooses Jacqueline, she can keep her position in Runaway, but she will betray Nigel, her loyal worker, as Nigel will not get that opportunity. So that's all from me. I will pass my presentation to Atira to explain about the next part. Thank you.
Thank you, Nusratina, for the great explanation. Now let's move to consequentialism. Consequentialism is defined as a theory that says whether something is good or bad depends on its outcome. In The Devil's Wears Prada, consequentialism can be seen in one scene where Andy and Emily whisper the ghost name to Miranda in order for her to greet them properly, as she was unable to remember the name of all the guests at the birthday party event. Through the villain perspective, it is ethical for Miranda to ask her staff to memorize job scope and does not violate any rules and regulation. Hence, we can conclude that Miranda's action to ask her staff to memorize the name actually brings good, as she was able to keep her guests happy and maintain the good relationship. That's all from me. I will pass the presentation to Alisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Akira, for the thorough explanations on co-studies perspectives. Now, I will continue this presentation by discussing the deontology theory from Andy, heroine point of view. But first, let's define deontology. A fundamental tenet of deontology is to argue that there is a right way and a wrong way to behave. During one point in the film, Miranda urged Andy to secure the unpublished Harry Potter book at time before the series was complete. When Miranda sees that Andy is unable to fulfill this work, she will have an excuse to terminate her. Nevertheless, Andy succeeds against all difficulties and retrieves the document. And what makes the situation fascinating is that the fact that it allows us to compare and contrast two different approaches to deontology. But the real problem is deciding which option is the best. From one angle, it was unethical for Miranda to ask Andy for such a favor given the legal protection afforded to unpublished work. And for the heroine perspective Andy, she willingly agreed to the favor while knowing it was impossible to do. On the other hand, Andy continues her search for unpublished manuscript while knowing it will be unethical her to do so because it is her responsibility as Miranda's secretary. In this issue, we should adopt view which harsher penalties. Following the first set of laws and regulations, we can see that Andy may face a fine or maybe legal action since her actions were illegal. For the latter offences, Andy will be dismissed by Miranda. When we weigh against the alternative, the penalty for breaking the rules and regulations is clearly more severe. Since Andy offers to help Miranda locate the unpublished work, we may argue that her behavior violates deontological principle. Next, I will pass this presentation to Hana Nabila.
Thank you, Alisa. Next, let's continue to answer the question of if we are in the villain's shoes, what ethical action that we will take based on the golden rule. First, let me explain what is golden rule. Basically, golden rule is a moral principle that states we should treat others the way we want to be treated. So let's look at the first action. Let's look at the action taken by the villain herself. In this movie, Miranda is very hardworking and she is demanding and has been working tirelessly for Runaway, and she expects the same from her workers by expecting them to work tirelessly and only focus to the point that they abandon their social life. For an example, it can be seen in the movie that Andy has been working tirelessly to fulfill all Miranda's ridiculous demands. This is unethical since a worker should have work-life balance and should never be forced to work without rest. If we are in the villain's shoes, we will also expect our workers to be dedicated to their job like us, but we will motivate them in an ethical way. For an example, the workers should only work from 9 to 5 and no one should disturb them after 5 p.m. since that is their time for them to relax and unwind from work. We also cannot burden the workers to fulfill our ridiculous demand because they are not paid for that. I think that is all from me. I will pass the presentation to Tina for her to cite the feelings of the villain. Thank you.
Thank you, Hana. Now I will continue to explain about the feeling that I will feel as the villain, which is Miranda. As Miranda treated her worker in an abusive way in order to make her worker become like her, as been explained by Hana, the feeling that I would feel as the villain is the guilty. This is because down inside Miranda's heart, as a human being, she would feel guilty when she treated her workers like that. This is because her workers still give their full commitment and put 100% effort into the job even though being treated unfairly. Now, I will pass this presentation to Alisa for the last part of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tina. We have come to the end of this presentation. We may infer that there were ethical issues and immoral behavior from all the main characters from Quentin's and deontology's perspective. Yet, there are certain lessons and takeaways that can be derived from this. In terms of workplace behavior, Miranda and Andy are both an excellent examples. For Andy, Although Andy knows it's difficult to win over her cutthroat employee Miranda, she persists in trying on a variety of clothing and approaches to problem solving in the hopes of doing so. Andy was clearly highly dedicated to her work and has a strong sense of duty. We may learn from her positive outlook on work and apply it to ourselves. Miranda, on the other hand, worked tirelessly despite the fact that she was a demanding manager and made everyone she worked with nervous. And this is the reason why she is so revered in her field. And this holds true even when the future of her marriage is in jeopardy. However, in this case, she has abused her position of authority as an employer. So the lesson that we learn from this is that employers should not treat their employees unfairly. And that's all from me and my team. Thank you for watching.